I'm mayor of a community called Braddock, Pennsylvania. Is anyone familiar with Braddock? You know, because of where I'm at, I describe it as Steelton with a lot more issues, basically. And it's a community that's about 80% African American, and it was one of the most challenged communities in all of Pennsylvania, quite frankly. But it didn't start out that way. In fact, Andrew Carnegie built his first steel mill there, and it was once a place of unrivaled prosperity and wealth creation. And of course, we know how that went, you know. And at the end of the day, the town was left really to suffer, you know, really just unimaginably. And I showed up there in 2001 and created the first out-of-school youth program that was ever successful in getting established there. And since then, 17 years later, that program's been responsible for nearly 1,000 young people, almost exclusively of color, to earn their general equivalency degrees. After several years of that, I decided to run for mayor, and I've been proud to say that I've been elected 4 terms as mayor as Braddock. And we have taken on some of the most difficult, most intractable issues that we as a Democratic Party are facing. People ask me, what are you most proud of that you've accomplished? And that's an easy question to ask or answer. And that's because we went 5.5 years without a murder in our community. And we did it with a police force that treated the community with respect and was not seen as an occupying force. It was seen as a force that would protect and serve. Our community did not have a functioning restaurant within its borders. Today we have 4, including one that was special enough that brought Anthony Bourdain and his show Parts Unknown there in an episode that was featured this past October. And it was just named one of the best 10 new restaurants in America by Food and Wine magazine. My wife is a former dreamer, you know, so immigration is very near and dear to me as well. And I'm the only candidate to actually take a stand and protest the Burke's Family Detention Center here in the area as well too. For the last 17 years, I have made the care and advancement of a community of color that has been marginalized my central focus. And I'm running for Lieutenant Governor because I want to take that platform of a statewide office and take it all across Pennsylvania for all the communities across our great state that have been left behind, marginalized, that deserve better than what they're getting. Thank you.
I'm in the race, guys, because I've done the work that the Lieutenant Governor does for 14 years already. I've been appointed by 3 U.S. governors for positions going from legislative affairs all the way to criminal justice. I was the chair under 2 governors for the Human Rights Advocacy Committee. That's a committee, that's an umbrella that deals with everything from emergency management all the way to hospital abuse and neglect, all the way to foster care abuse and neglect. So I'm very proud to say that I already have the qualifications. I will get into what the Lieutenant Governor does, but I have a minute and a half. So I'll try to speed it up. We added to those positions 4 things that I know that the Lieutenant Governor can actually do in the first 12 months. The first one, compulsory education for people that are paying their debt to society. They need to come out with a degree. Second, and there's more there, post-prison opportunity that the state actually sponsors. Second, health for our school system. They need a permanent, guaranteed by legislation, funding all throughout. We need to calibrate the right way the Keystone exam, because those funds are not being sent the right way. Finally, our teachers need to be paid for the materials that they actually have to buy themselves. Okay, third position, yes. Okay, third position, I come from a family of farmers myself. Our farmers, and the governor agrees, are underfunded. They don't have taxation that goes with their crops. They don't have infrastructure. They don't have broadband. They can't compete. We have the best land in the world, actually. That's nationwide. We could compete with anybody. Okay. Then my very last point is help for the lower and middle class in the way of subsidies for organizations to start hiring from the ground up. And the state should always be the largest employer in the state. We owe it to everybody. I've done the job before, I have the experience, and the fact that you are, and this is a job interview, guys, you guys are hiring. So the fact that somebody's successful in a small little area doesn't mean that you'll be successful statewide. That's why I think that my candidacy is better. Thank you so much.
As statewide candidates, We have tried to make as many commitments as possible to get out and speak to as many people as possible. So my name is Kathy Cazone. I'm a Chester County Commissioner and I'm serving in my 3rd term, so this is my 11th year. Despite being in the minority on the Board of Commissioners, I'm the Vice Chair. I was elected to that in 2011. Pardon me. I'm also the first Vice President of our state association, which is an association that represents all 67 counties in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I am the Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus within that association. I'm an accountant by trade, so the last job I had prior to being elected was a senior management role in corporate accounting in a major publishing company in Pennsylvania. So I'm running for Lieutenant Governor for 3 reasons. And the first reason is, 2 minutes, wow, that went fast. The first reason is because for the last decade, I have watched as the Republicans in the legislature have decimated funding to counties for us to be able to provide critical services for the most vulnerable people in our communities. So I decided that local government, county government, needed a seat at the table in Harrisburg and a voice in the executive branch of government, and that's the biggest reason why I got in this race. The second reason is, I mentioned earlier that I'm Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners despite being in the minority, and that's because I earn the respect and the trust of my colleagues. So I know that I can be a partner for Governor Wolf to work across the aisle to make sure that we are advancing his priorities, which in the end are our priorities and the democratic ideals that we believe in. And finally, I believe that being a leader is greater than the job description. So if I had 5 more minutes, I could give you a few examples of some of the projects that I've led in my own community and statewide, projects that don't fall under the job description of county commissioner. So I believe we can use the Lieutenant Governor's office to make sure that we shine light on the issues and the challenges that we face across the Commonwealth and bring people together to solve those problems.